We are all travelers, all in search of something. And that travel can take forms, many different forms, across ponds and lands and oceans and streams to get us to certain places that we might have called home, including islands, including climates where we can travel by trains and cars and by foot and bikes, by buses. And we keep moving forward. We are traveling to find our tribes, our people. Where are they? Where do they gather to celebrate the architecture of the old and of the new? Where it is at times daylight and other times night. We will gather there together as family, as loved ones, as friends, perhaps those friends we haven't seen in many years. We gather together in the ways that we have over centuries to celebrate new unions and new discoveries. Some of us are no longer with us, but we remember their faces and often things that they ate. We are in motion, moving forward. And if I were to try to track down my roots, where do you think I should look?
On the internet?
Across lands and across time, technologies lead us in our searches for ourselves. Technologies that may be handheld or sometimes even on our laps can take us to places we want to go to celebrate and to learn about customs, collecting the artifacts and the experiences of our ancestors, perhaps even things we haven't heard before or ever even tasted. Tastes that can bring us to our knees as well as our curiosity while we are in search of our namesakes, those who joined with others to start businesses where people could come together.
So Innocent Gun is a well-known place around here, it seems. And who is the name Gun after? Who's the gun in Innocent Gun?
It's not Tom Cruise, so I don't know.
Do you know any guns in your life, or is this a last name you know, or
I don't know.
not a single one?
No.
Well, then you're meeting one right now, but that's unfortunate. All right, I'll have to go somewhere else to look. Okay, thank you very much.
Enjoy. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.
We search low and high in museums where there may be additional signs, clues to our beginnings, where there were reformers and those who wove it together over the centuries. We were not animals. We were self-educated. We learned to make scribbles on rocks and later on paper. In fact, some of us were able to spread news wherever we went through the written word that brought us the Gospels, that brought us to the truth that we believed, whether it was in spirituality or in the sounds of instruments coming together to bring us to an understanding of our country, of our homeland, to even the minute and the hour where we began, where we could understand the stories of those who went before us that maybe had us go high into the northern lands, into the highlands where we could travel by foot. The pilgrimage of our ancestors that we can share today with our dear friends as we move along and examine nature at its finest, and the clues that we gather from the flora and the fauna, in the colors that are deep and rich along these pathways of our lives that lead us to celebration, the brightness of our golden years, of our golden lands, of our green and repetitive patterns, and the beautiful colors that add to the majesty of all that we can see, and the waters that lay before us that provide us for drink and bathing, and the promise of more rains to come, to be able to add to the fluids that flow below us, that nurture us, that give us strength to be able to cross this land and to follow up on the myths that we understand. And where there are myths, there is commercialism. We know not but how to consume, how to take the most simplest, archaic, ancestral, and important things and make a profit on them. And this goes back in time to a simpler time where the materials that we wore meant something to us, meant something to those who played music and to those who guarded our homes and our castles. And our people, well, at least our indentured servants, built beautiful structures that allowed us to gather to sing the praises of those who came before us and of those who were our gods that we know of needed reforming, and some of us tried and were forced to leave. But when we returned to our homelands, we were able to make changes, even in the most common prayers, and reach levels on the pedestal that were higher, but never higher than the castles, never higher than the royalty that taught us that we did not know what was best. And if I were to look for more guns around here, where would I find them?
Where would you find them, sir? I know that there's a family gun in Alloa, which is pretty close to where we are here in Stirling. And if you look at that, traditionally that's probably come through the fact that there was an armaments work in Alloa and Bonnybridge. So this centre of Scotland was very, very important for going right back to the medieval period, the Scottish armaments industry.
We were a fighting people, a violent clan that took it to its ultimate end, which is, of course, in death. And those gathering places for our deceased, for those who went before us who are no more, those who are pining for fjords, who are whistling tunes that only dog ears can hear, they lend us the clues that continued north, the clues to where more of us began, and the headstones become even older and harder to read. This is the land as we move northward, This is the land where our namesakes toiled in the soil and did everything they could to become a strong and mighty group who could survive these conditions that were harsh. And finally, we arrived at the homeland where there are memories and markers and mementos of those who have already joined the choir invisible, those who were wrestling with the binaries of history, of herstory, and certainly known around the world for that struggle between war and peace. It was with much gratitude and joy that we arrived in this homeland where it all started.